Will Lucas here, Black Tech Green Money. So good to be with you guys for another episode. I got a rock star couple on this episode, and I'm super happy about this one. Jackie Aina Denis Asamoah are both life partners and co-founders of FORVR MOOD. Dennis, an investment banker, and also Jackie is also a beauty creator with millions of followers on IG, TikTok, and all over the place. Wherever she goes, people just follow. They just follow her. So good to be with you guys today.
No,
Thank you.
thank you.
Likewise.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to start here with like finding a market opportunity for FORVR MOOD. Like there are so many things you could have done. Why did you choose to do this?
So I will lead with that and definitely give Dennis the opportunity to weigh in too. But this was honestly FORVR MOOD was my first time really betting on me for the first time because most of my audience knew me from makeup and I love makeup. But I think sometimes, especially when it comes to being a woman, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, when people know you for one thing, they tend to be very rigid and firm in that. And there's rarely ever opportunities for you to pivot or rebrand or try something new. And at my core, before I ever picked up a makeup brush, I was a fragrance girl. And so I knew at some point throughout my career, even well before it took off, and I made this my day job, that I've always wanted to do something with fragrance, even if it was just like passion project. Now that I have a brand, I'm like, what the hell does a passion project even mean? It's all work, right? But this was really something that in my heart of hearts that I truly was not only passionate about, but the more I started to explore fragrance as a consumer and as a customer and as a content creator, I started to realize what the holes were. So one of the most obvious things for me is that Black people are like obsessed with smelling good in general, but it's so weird that we're rarely ever at the forefront of conversations in terms of fragrance and campaigns and just even perfumers. Like it's still the fragrance industry is still such a largely gate-kept industry. So I didn't realize how much of that existed until I actually started creating fragrance. And I was like, wow, this is really
Yeah.
an issue. Like visibility is really an issue for a lot of Black founders, Black creators, and just Black visionaries in the fragrance space. That was the first thing. Also, I noticed that like everything was either really low end or really high end. And from a price point perspective, there was like nothing in between. Very, very few things that were in between. And the things that were in between were either, and I don't want to offend anybody, but like everything was either too kitschy or too masculine and too bougie and too
Yeah.
unattainable, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
where's the aspirational brands that may not be like big box accessible, but are not necessarily $300 a candle, bougie, expensive, right? Like we need something that's like right in the middle, right in that sweet spot. So those were some of the things that I felt, even as a consumer, before we even started working on the brand, that I noticed were missing. And so as I started to talk about, like from an olfactive perspective, what I wanted to see and smell more of, the other pain points that I were very obviously missing to me, and that we wanted to, Dennis and I both strategized on like what we needed to hone in on and really focus more on as we started to create from FORVR MOOD.
Dennis, you want to chime in on this?
No. She hit it on the nail. Yeah, that's like I would say. Look, the vision for FORVR MOOD is Jackie. Like she has the passion for fragrance, and she had a condition called hyperhidrosis, which was a sweating condition as well. So she used to wear fragrance to, cover the scent and the smell, and also it gave her confidence. So like the vision, that's solely to Jackie. So that's for her.
Yeah. And Jackie, you said something about, people knew you from makeup and they knew you from this and, but you decided to, expand how they knew you. And when I hear that, I hear, that you have a strong brand and community. And what I love about building a strong brand and community is as long as you stay authentic, people will follow you anywhere. And so I wonder how you think about the community you've built that has accepted FORVR MOOD and the brand you've built that has allowed people to trust you to go into this new vertical.
Well, to be quite honest with you, I would have no confidence in this brand if that community aspect wasn't there. I mean, that's what I live for personally. It's a big part of what makes fragrance so enjoyable. Like the community aspect is a non-negotiable in my opinion, because it not only makes the creation part so fun and innovative and exciting for me, but it allowed me, like, yeah, like I want to be able to say I knew I had this vision and I knew the brand was going to take off, but I had no idea. I genuinely thought we were going to be starting really small. And it was truly the people who support me and both of us really that pulled up and were like, no, 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 whatever you put your name on,
Yeah.
we're going to be open to even exploring. And that's an honor and a privilege that people don't owe you at all, regardless of whether you have 2 followers or 10 million. And so that's not lost on me. So it allows both of us as co-founders to really navigate that level of trust and that level of integrity very carefully, because it's important. And also, like, it's why, why wouldn't you want to lean into that community, because that's what makes the innovative part of being a brand founder so important and so fun.
And
Yeah.
just to add to that, I think that that gave us a brand advantage in a sense because Jackie put in the work for a decade and more. So naturally, when we were ready to launch a brand, they already trusted her. They didn't really need that much convincing. You didn't really have to, prove that, okay, this is going to be a great product. Jackie actually uses her product. She's just not going to put her name on something that she doesn't actually live by and breathe by. And it was funny because during the time we launched, it was during the pandemic, COVID. It was in 2020, and people were actually at home and people couldn't actually go anywhere. And with candles, which is what we launched to begin with, people couldn't actually smell it. So people were relying heavily on the storytelling, and it just shows how much impact Jackie had done for the community because people bought it irrespective of them having to smell the product. So that is just a testament to the work that she's done beforehand.
And
Yeah.
to
I'm.
Dennis's point, oh, I'm sorry.
No, 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 go ahead.
To Dennis's point, I think without realizing in that over a decade of time period, I was also laying the groundwork to show my audience that, like, every time I opened a lipstick or an eyeshadow, like, I was always interacting with scent. And but the thing is like, we all love perfume talk now, which really kind of took off in 2020. I'm not sure if you're familiar with perfume talk, but it's like
No.
fragrance on TikTok is okay. So you know how there's like nurse talk, and then there's like there's different corners of TikTok, right?
I've
And
heard.
so
I've heard. I've heard. Yeah.
okay, so there's perfume talk, but really perfume content before 2020 just did not perform well at all. So I'd always wanted to open up that side
Yeah.
of myself
Yeah.
in my content, but there was just never like the viewership just wasn't there. And so there were other ways that I was interacting with scent and fragrance in my videos for all of that time frame. So when we started FORVR MOOD, people were like, okay, it actually makes sense. They're like, wait, this track Jackie's
Yeah.
always sniffing
Yeah.
something or interacting with something. So the groundwork had been laying there kind of silently in the background, but once we just pulled the lid off, people were like, all right, let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
get into it.
Nah, that makes so much sense. And Dennis, I want to start with you on this, but I want both of you to chime in if you feel so inclined, Jackie. It's like there's so many people who have large followings and then put out a product and can't sell anything. And so I wonder, like, walk us through what about this brand that you've built and, Jackie's persona that you have allows people to say, what, I'm not only interested in her latest release of a video or latest photo or et cetera, but also I'm going to pull out my credit card or I'm going to tap to pay.
Yeah, I think there's multiple layers. One being Jackie, that if you remember, Jackie is the first one to tell people, don't buy something. She's not going to throw a product in your face. So it's just that authenticity where it's like, okay, I I told you times where even when it comes to working with a brand that can jeopardize a relationship, I'm going to tell you don't buy. This is something I don't use. This doesn't work for me. So that authenticity is number one. Number two, our products are dope. We really put in a lot of time in developing amazing products. It smells great. Jackie, as I said, Jackie is obviously the lead product product girl in terms of like any product that comes out there, she's tested, she's lived with it, and she loves it. So it's easy for her to speak to. And I think when you see brands that have a creator's face, sometimes they stick their name on it. They even used it. They can't really speak to it authentically. So I think that's also very important. And then three, I think the storytelling. I think that's very important with a brand, the storytelling. Why us? Why should you buy this product? Because there's so many different products out there. And something that Jackie was talking about, that there was so many luxury products out there, but it wasn't accessible. It wasn't approachable. And I think that's something that our brand did in terms of brand DNA is like, yes, there's other candles, but our products, the way we spoke to our consumers, and also when it comes to the Black consumers, there wasn't that many things that were for us in terms of we wasn't part of the marketing, we wasn't part of the conversation. So that was something that we wanted to bring at the forefront with our brand.
What would you say on that, Jake?
I feel like Dennis pretty much hit all of what I would say. And I just want to hone in on what he said about like necessity. Like, are you, and you got to also remember my job is to review products. So I talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And people generally know me for kind of like not holding back. So, and to be honest with you, I think being a successful founder or successful at anything is to also have some self awareness. So before you create something, ask yourself, like, do people need this?
Yeah.
Does this already exist? Why do people need this? What is going to be your point of difference? What is going to be the difference between this same product? Because like nothing is new in the market, right? Like even in, especially in beauty and fragrance, nothing is new. But what would be the reason that people will come to you versus another heritage brand that has existed for decades before you, that has the bandwidth to reach more people, to market their product better, more effectively, and more frequently? Why would they come support you? So it really takes like one, a lot of self-awareness. Some people don't care about you. Like some people don't care that you have 10 million followers. They want to know at the end of the day, is the product good? And so Dennis and I really focused on, like, I almost have to kind of like remove myself out of it. Like, what if somebody had no idea I existed? They had no idea this was my brand. Why would they care about that product? And would they keep buying that product? Those are the kinds of things that I ask and that we both discuss as a team when we curate something, when we formulate something, because I don't want people to just rely on me. It's not sustainable to just rely on me and my face and my brand, or my voice, I should say. People need to pull up and genuinely care about that product.
Yeah.
And so far they really are. And that's something that like I love when someone finds me and they're like, oh my God, I had no idea you own FORVR MOOD. I'm like, period, target demographic reach. Like that, it's actually music to my ears, because it's like you genuinely were enamored with the product. And I love that. Just let the product speak for itself. And I think sometimes people get so caught up in like, I can start that because I have access to it, or like someone can help me. You know, when you're a creator, you're around a lot of people who can make the wheels turn and make things happen. But just because you can, it don't mean you should.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. I want to talk about, the dynamic here, because what I found in couples that work together is like there are usually like defined things you do, defined things I do. That way we ain't stepping on each other's stuff. And so it's like you go to work together and then you go home together. And so I wonder, like, how have you found that works for you? Like, how have you divided the roles and responsibilities? He's responsible for this, you're responsible for that, so that you can make sure that it all works. Dennis, we can start with you on this one.
Yeah, so for me and Jackie, I think the reason why it works so well is that we both know what our strengths and weaknesses are. And we technically allow each other to, flourish within our roles. So Jackie, she's the creative. Even though I think I'm great with creative and I do have ideas and stuff and I do share and put it to the table, but naturally I'm always, when it comes down to like the final decision, when it comes to creative, if Jackie like believes in this, I'm gonna just lean on her, whether I think it's right or wrong. And that's where that trust and belief comes from, because I've seen her prove it time and time again. It's like if someone's done it and they've got the track record, why try and have a debate or try and fight that. Unless I really strong believe, I'm gonna fight and fight my case. And I do sometimes. I'm like, babes, trust me, just believe me on this one, and it works out. So that's great. And then and with Jackie, she's allowed me to, operate the business, run through the day to day, the operation. She trusts that, she doesn't have to worry about that. And I think that was also important because look, at the end of the day, Jackie's also got another job in her day to day content creation. And I never want to add more burden or more stress to her. So I taken a lot of the, the stuff that we just don't, like the behind the scenes, the boring stuff and the stuff that I don't want to. So really, I really want to protect her creativity and her mind by allowing her to just do what she's great at. And the reason why also it works is because even her day-to-day content, it's organic. It actually works with what we do. It's not like she has to overthink or have to, randomly just do content. The content is aligns with her day-to-day lifestyle. So it's perfect. So it's worked really well in that sense.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask this to you in a different way, Jackie. It's because he just said something that makes a light bulb go off for me. And he's like, she has another job, and that's content creation. And I remember I was interviewing Marsha Robinson a couple of episodes ago, and she was talking about like you got to go to work if you're trying to grow on social media, treat it like a job. And I wonder, like, how you think about, like, there were, I'm assuming, years where nobody was following and then people followed. And what happened in your strategy and, like, what happened that people said, yo, y'all see Jackie Aina? Like, she got something going on over here. Like, what happened that it's already hit an inflection point?
So this is actually probably one of my favorite things to talk about because sometimes we get really discouraged as founders and as entrepreneurs and as content creators because when you're a creator, essentially you are a business. So you have to treat it like a business. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in the phenomenon of like blowing up immediately, right? Like we're all chasing virality. We're all like, even back when I started, because I started in 2009. So even the concept of doing this as a job didn't really exist the way that it does now. But that's the advantage that I had. All of the years that I was
16
flopping,
years. Jeez.
16 years. And I love mentioning my 16 years because I'm like, you don't understand what you could do with 16 years. You don't even understand what you can do with 5 years.
Yeah.
And I love honing in on this idea that like, while you think it's quiet, you're experimenting, you're making mistakes. Like that's your advantage. That's how you learn what works and what doesn't work. I'm telling you something that a lot of people who blow up too quickly, what they don't have the hindsight of understanding what their audience likes or dislikes. When you blow up just because maybe you struck while the iron was hot, or maybe you just got really lucky one year where like the algorithm was pushing one particular type of content or creator and you just happen to be there at the right place at the right time. You don't always have the advantage of understanding why people followed you, what works, what doesn't, when people's attention span dropped off on a certain piece of content. And so it was 5 years, it was half a decade when I actually started consistently getting virality and content to where it's like, okay, I think I actually have something here. And
What did you figure
and
out that it helped you lean into it?
again, I always go back to you need to be self-aware. So after 5 years, because I'm a little bit of a like sometimes it takes me a minute to catch on to things. After 5 years, I'm like, all right, I love creating content, but like people are not watching and I need to figure out why. And so what I was realizing is that this is back before like I had an editor, I was editing my own content. What I was realizing is like I was creating content and then editing it and putting it on YouTube and not really engaging or interacting with, like I would engage with people in comments, I would respond to comments, but I wouldn't even watch my own content. So if I'm not even watching my own content, then I'm like, why would I expect other people to watch my own content?
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm asking myself, okay, why are you not even enjoying your own content? And I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, I kind of feel like it's boring. Like I don't really feel like I'm being myself. That was the aha moment that I was like, okay, I'm in my own head. I still feel like I'm carrying this weight of, is my family watching? Are my friends watching? Are my colleagues watching?
Yeah,
and I'm Nigerian. So, Nigerians tend to be very like we hold our reputations with very high regard. I'll say that. You don't want to be online acting crazy. And so I was in my own head about really actually showing up authentically as myself. And I told myself, I think I need to just look past that. Like, why not? Like, if nobody's really watching, then okay. If you act a fool like you normally do offline, the stuff that you edit out of your videos, if you keep that stuff in, they're already not watching you. So what do you have to lose? So finally, I just woke up one day and decided I'm just gonna like actually be myself, like actually be my actual self on camera.
Yeah.
And literally, the moment that I did that
Yeah.
was when I had my first real piece of viral content, and I quite literally never looked back. All my videos, it was just like video. They all started hitting, and people were like, "Oh my God, where have you been this whole time?" And I'm like, all I had to do
Yeah.
is just be myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna have one more question on this line, and I have one for Dennis. Is like, I'm one of those people who are like, trying to grow my personal on YouTube, and you record one day, then you record the next month, and then you're like, I'm gonna get right back to it. I really want to do it. But then you got all these things, and then you got the little
Yeah,
voice in your head that's like, all the things. I'm sure you appreciate that, and I'm sure 90% of this audience can appreciate all the things that keep you from recording. Not even just recording, from publishing, because you might have it
it's true.
recorded, but you ain't putting nothing out for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so my question is, there's certain styles, I imagine, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. There are certain styles of videos that tend to work better now than might have 10 years ago. Like the Casey Neistat, like that, type of vlog, I imagine had a season. Maybe it still does. I don't know. So my question is, what are you finding are the styles, not necessarily the content and the body of work? Like, what is the styles that people should pay attention to? Because like the regular day in the life may not be what people want to watch. May not be. So I just want your thoughts on this.
This is like an interesting question because what is what is successful now is not necessarily always going to be what you're passionate about, and that's okay as well. So for example, these attention spans on TikTok, like everything is just quick, 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 punchy. They almost kind of want you to be way more clickbaity. Like I come from the clickbait era on YouTube, but you still can create the illusion of like slow burn in the content itself. Like you can clickbait with the thumbnail, but the content itself does not have to be fast paced. Whereas a lot of these short term platforms, it's like, I got to cut out everything. And that's not necessarily the style that I want to, or even just like the type of storytelling that I'm invested in. So it's like a fine line of like finding that balance of like what you know will work, but also what actually fulfills you and is true and authentic to you. And so I think that the answer to that probably looks different for everybody. I don't know if that's a helpful way to answer that, but I know for me, what I like may not always necessarily be relevant, but also that's okay because I've lived through that. And then by the time it was relevant, like for example, talking about Black issues in the beauty community was not always relevant, but I did it anyway because it was just authentic to me. So then by the time sadly, I hate to say this in quotes, but when it became a trend, it shouldn't be a trend because like my existence should not be a trend and me being visible should not be a trend. But by the time it became like popping to include Black people, I'd already had years of work to show, hey, we've been doing this. And it wasn't just me, it was several creators that were doing that too. So I don't know if that's helpful, but
Yeah.
you really got to find a balance because what you actually like creating may not always be relevant or trendy. But I'll tell you right now, the quicker everything just moves so fast, and I'm
Yeah.
like, we got to slow down, guys. Like,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
every day.
And so if I'm hearing you correctly, because you started off talking about what are you passionate about? And so
Hmm.
I truly believe like I want to see more blogs. And so like I remember people used to blog, but now everything's so 140 characters, et cetera. Like you don't get a full thought from anybody anymore. But there
Yeah,
was a day when blogs were the thing. And I feel like there may be opportunities for people to do that again with Substack and use a Medium and all these things. And so, but if I'm hearing you correctly, like cut out the like, what do you care about? Do that.
yeah. I mean, it's still a job, so we have to be honest enough to understand if you're going to invest in this, you are going to have to find a balance of like what is going to get visibility and what do you like. And that balance looks different for everybody. But yeah, and even I'm glad that you mentioned platforms like Substack because you're right. Like, I do miss the days of like a fully fleshed out thought or like a deep dive. That's actually why I still love YouTube. And Dennis can probably chime in as well because I know he's a podcast person, like, especially when it comes to brand found ownership and stuff. Like, I want the meat and potatoes, I want the
Yeah.
beginning, the middle, and end. You don't always get that in
Yeah.
a TikTok.
Yeah, and this I'm gonna tee this
you
up for
know?
Dennis too. I appreciate that you did that because I wanted to ask Dennis about this because you guys have been very transparent about the struggles in growing, a business. You talked about, you were doing this, starting during COVID, during the pandemic, and I even saw this quote you talked about, you made an investment on this big warehouse and it didn't go as planned. And
Hmm.
how do you consider growing in public and learning in public?
It's actually funny because I've been thinking about being more open and candid with my community. I don't really post, I'm more behind the scene, but I've been thinking about, entering the space and doing content around the mistakes and the challenges that a founder may face. Because every day there's always something going on. One day something unexpectedly happened and you have to find a solution for it. And I feel like people could learn so much because I feel like in this space we live in a world where you only see the end result, the finished product. Oh my God, you sold your business for X amount. Oh, I made X amount of millions. But what does that mean? And I could learn very early on. I remember one of my first goals was that, oh yeah, I can't wait to make millions off the business. And when you do that, but then you ask yourself, okay, that's not actually the important question. Okay, what was your profit? And it's just appreciating and really understanding what it actually means. And sometimes it can be very misleading to the community and what information you're giving. And actually, it sounds like you're doing great, but you're not. And it's okay to be open and candid with your community. Say, look, it's tough times at the moment. It's hard, and it is tough times, especially in this economy. So that's something that I've been thinking about lately.
Yeah. So this question is for both of you guys, Jackie and Dennis. So I have this
Mhm.
thing I've been doing. It's called the EDC, the Everyday Carry. And so I'm gonna start with you, Dennis. Obviously, aside from Forever Mood,
Yeah.
what is the thing that you not just like a morning routine, but the things you carry every day that just help you be effective, feel comfortable,
Ooh,
enjoy your day. So it
I
can be your
love that.
phone, and
No, but it won't be
I
my
need to get
phone.
off my phone, actually.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need to carry that less.
Um,
yeah, like what's in Dennis's everyday carry?
okay. Well, recently I've got this new ring, the Aura, and yeah, an Aura ring, and it's been really impactful. Learning and studying my sleep, my stress levels, my productivity. So this is something that I would say now is something that I would carry every day because it really tells me how productive I am, and I can actually act on it. So like I might be sitting down for too long. It says stand up. That is them small hints and reminders really make a difference.
So that's the everyday carry, just the Oura ring.
Yes, for now. Yeah.
Dig it.
It's a good one though. If you have one, it's a good one. I got one too.
Dig it. Jackie, what's in your everyday carry?
So I'm not gonna mention Forever Mood, but truthfully, my everyday
You gotta
carry.
just you said it. I like you. I
Mm.
like how you
But
did that there.
I'm gonna be real. I do, even if it's not Forever Mood, I do absolutely carry fragrance with me every day. Like I really do. Even if I don't set foot. I mean, I have the advantage of working from home. And so how can I replicate some sense of sensuality in my day to day or comfort in my day to day? Like, we, as humans, I think we really underestimate how much, and this is another reason why Forever Mood exists, like how much scent makes a difference and how frequently we interact with it. It can be comforting, it can be nostalgic, it can be productive, it can be, scent can even be aggressive. Like, I was working out and I wore NDA, and NDA has tobacco. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should stick to something a little bit more chill. I don't know if I want
Yeah,
to work out with tobacco. Like, I feel tobacco is a little bit when I'm trying to like seduce my man.
yeah,
And yeah, it's great, but I carry fragrance with me every day. It's just a reminder of like what I get to create, what I get to do, how I want to sway someone's impression of me when I walk into a room, if I want to disarm a room or if I want to excite a room. I do that by conveying a fragrance.
Give me one more thing, whether it's like a water bottle or a backpack or
Yeah, you
headphones.
Oh, for
carry your
sure. Stanley down. I don't
yeah,
ever. This is probably glued to me more than my phone. Is my
yeah.
water. Yeah, I keep that thing on me for sure.
I keep that bag on you. Alright, I got a couple more. It's like when you are on the business side, like when you're looking at indicators, because obviously there are people who come to the site, put it in the cart, and don't purchase in that moment. Because that's like an indicator. What indicators are you paying attention to that say, you know what, we're in the right direction? Whether it's views on social media, whether it's carts, being held on the website, like what are the things that you pay most attention to?
Uh, that's a great question. For me,
I
it's the
love that.
reviews. It's the customer reviews. So, can you not hear me, by the way?
Yeah,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
good.
So I get a weekly digest of reviews coming in. Customers leave on our website, and it's really become my self care, good or bad, because it really tells you what's going really well. Because, like, for example, I may be like overthinking and thinking, oh, we need to improve this and do this. And then when you see customers' reactions and the reviews are like, wow, they love it. And it's like, okay, we're doing something right. And that means a lot. Or whenever, I mean, they say, okay, this could be improved this way. I'm like, okay, great. Okay, let's get back into the kitchen and improve that. So for me, those are my indicators, and I lean on that because ultimately these are the people that are buying the product and using it every day.
Dig in. And last one, I'm gonna give it to both of you guys. So I want you both to chime in on this. Is I want to talk about ownership. Because Instagram and TikTok, all these they could do something tomorrow, and this is like it just disappears. God forbid. But I wonder how you think about no matter what happens out there, we're building something we own. How do
Hmm.
you encourage other people who are trying to grow on social media or YouTube or any of these other platforms to consider, you know, the real strategy, which is ownership of both your content, your intellectual property, your contribution, and a theme? Start with you, Jackie.
Actually, I really love this question, and I don't necessarily want to talk about owner because I know, like, I'm hearing two different ways to answer this. It's really controversial when like founders sell their brands, so I'm not referring to
Mhm.
ownership in that aspect. That's a whole different conversation, but this is probably another big reason why Forever Mood's existence was really important to me, because again, it was the first time I really got to bet on myself. In the 10 years, at the time, it's now year 16 for me, but in the 10 years that I was a creator when we started Forever Mood, I had made millions for brands that I've collaborated with, brands that I've posted about, brands that I've, advertised on my platform. I made brands millions, and that's something I would never take back. I love the fact that I built an audience that could trust my recommendations. Like, that's really important to me. However, there's something that can be said about like, but I want to build something too. If I'm capable of doing that for them, why not bet on me and do that for myself? And I'm going to be very honest with you. I would not have even had the gall to start Forever without Dennis, because he was the one who actually made it real and tangible by way of creating the business plan, like outlining financially what it would require from us. But before, it just seemed like a dream and it just seemed like a one day. But Dennis really was the person who sat me down and was like, no, right now, and here's how. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm like, let's just go for it. Let's just go all in. And so we did. And I'm so proud because one thing I thought I understood, I thought I had some understanding of what it requires to handle a brand by working with them, but I had no idea what it required until I actually started one. And even through good, bad, ups, downs, bad, like all of the above, I would do it all over again, 1000%, if it means betting on us, betting on something that we
Mm.
actually own, something that we create, we have full control over. That's something I'm incredibly, incredibly proud of.
Dennis, ownership. Talk to me.
Yeah, it's just like Jackie. A bunch of things came to my mind as you said that. I will speak on a different angle. I think ownership's important, but I also don't want people to take it literally. And what I mean by that, I think sometimes we can get accustomed to saying, I want 100% of everything. And sometimes it's okay to have 50%, it's okay to have 10%. It all depends on the opportunity. And also it's understanding how you can find the right partners to, you know what I mean, come together to do something great. Because I know people that have ownership of, as I said, minority ownership of things, and they're doing really well and it's worth millions of dollars, versus having 100% of something and it's not really worth anything. So I think we should not get caught up in this whole thing of, I have to have ownership and I don't want anyone involved and this is all mine. So I want to be very mindful of that. So I say that to say that ownership is important, but make sure you understand why you're doing it. Why is, I'll just ask the question, why is ownership important to you? And more importantly, okay, if you want 100% of it, do you realize what it's going to take to get to your goal? So let's just say you want to turn it into a $100 million brand. Do you think you, by yourself, taking on 100% ownership, is capable without bringing the necessary resources and partners to help you achieve that goal? If you don't think that is possible, then you need to bring the right people and really understand how to value that. And I think that's where the disconnect is. How do you value ownership and how do you determine? And there's no right or wrong answer, but that's something you're going to learn along the way.
That's exactly what I was alluding to earlier, because I know sometimes my people, there's a lot of misconceptions of what it means to like have an investor, and it's okay to like not really know. There's still so much I'm going to learn about being a brand founder and operating all of this as I continue to grow. But I think there's a lot of misconceptions about like, what does owning 100% of your business, what does that look like? What does that also allow you to be capable of? And so when I see founders bring on investors or like sell and they are criticized for that, I'm like, oh my God, like sometimes they get ripped apart. And like, I do think sometimes there's a lot of valid concerns. Like nobody likes formula changes, right? But then again, nobody likes an inaccessible product. And so sometimes a formula change is what is going to make the product accessible. So you gotta, you gotta give or take. But I didn't want to get into that too much. I'm just co-signing what Dennis is referring
No,
to.
it's
And
super good.
Yeah.
Super good. Yeah, we've had these kind of conversations on the episode because, not to get too deep into it, but there are other episodes. We like Mael, we talked about this particular thing. And so I want people to like, largely the point of business is to build something that you have an asset. It's an asset that you can hopefully monetize, liquidate, sell.
Exactly. You can't always do that if you own 100% of that. It's just the reality. You can't always do that. You don't always necessarily have, like, if we just care more about being able to pass down something, that's one thing, but understand that might not always generate actual generational wealth. Like, that's just the truth. And I think sometimes there's a misconception on like what building wealth is going to look like.
True facts.
And just to expand on that, I would like to add one thing as well. When you think about sometimes having to give a percentage of your company to someone is to actually help your business and actually make it more accessible to your consumers and your customers, is actually to help them, because you realize that, you know what, you love your products, you want to scale, you want to go into other markets, you want to expand into other product categories, but you can't do that on your own. You just don't have the capacity, you don't have the capital.
Exactly.
And this is where you need the right partners to help you achieve that. And this is the thing, I've learned to not get upset with people that don't understand it, because they haven't been through it. And that's just one thing. When you haven't gone through something or you haven't educated yourself, it's not really their fault. They don't know it. You don't know what you don't know. So hopefully these conversations will help, bring the conversation to a better place where people understand, okay, why is it that these founders are doing this and why are we seeing this cycle? It's not because we're selling out. It's nothing to do with selling out. It's because there is a bigger reason as to why we're doing it.